point it's going to go live. There it is. It's gone live. Yeah.
Blasphemy,
Chocolate. Not that great. Kind of overrated.
I don't even know what we're doing on this stream now. I don't know what to say to you anymore.
I thought
I knew you, but clearly not.
You thought this was a chocolate-friendly stream when evidently it's just not.
Clearly.
Obviously. Anyway, hello everyone. Welcome to Only Leeds Bros, which is currently the third bro who I've decided I'm going by Daniel for the week because they're both D names and that's my middle name, so you got to go with it. Yeah. And we have a fourth. Wait, hold on. We had Joe. Joe is now Duh. We now have a fifth Only Leeds sibling. What are you choosing to go by?
Well, I don't know how to Evie sounds weird.
It does sound a bit weird, yeah. But
yeah.
I mean, you got any middle names?
Claire, which again is a C, not a
Claire.
Dare.
I don't know if that particularly works.
Sorry, I kind of feel like I've let everybody down now.
I am very, very sad right now. Yeah, that's true. But I'm more sad at the fact we've got a suggestion from Baby Zebra Games who's gone with Darling.
Oh,
Darling Only Leeds sibling, which is, I mean, it's not a bad one to get. I get real names. How well?
Darling.
It'll do. Anyway, how have you been? How did that yesterday treat you? Are we all good, bad, middle? I was very happy to be privy to a borderline meltdown in the big chat yesterday, which was fun.
Yeah, I to be honest, I think with looking back in hindsight, we can look back at it slightly more positive than originally it was, because obviously technically we've gained a point on Sheffield with them losing, so we're still only 2 points away from top spot with a better goal difference. So in theory, it is what it is. It's not like the worst thing. Granted, I felt awful because it's been the first time since 2024 that we've been out of the top two. So that's not a good thing at this point when we had a 5-point gap to second and a 7-point gap to third only a matter of weeks ago. So I feel a little bit disheartened there. I can't be full sunshine and rainbows and everything, but at the same time, 2 points and we're back to top of the league, and they still have to play one another, and as long as we remain within 2 points of either one of them, it's still, until that game happens, which I'm sure isn't that like the third to the last game or second to last game of the season. It's really late on.
It's so we have time as we have Stoke.
Right. Okay. And
we play Stoke and then they play later. So if that's the one that decides whether or not we go up, we won't know until 3 hours after we play.
Yeah. So it's fine. There's still time. Until there is no time left, then I'm okay with it, because I don't think that I try and see Leeds as my happy place and my place where I can safely demonstrate all of my emotions, but sometimes it becomes too emotional. And obviously, like we said, the chat yesterday, it was incredibly somber, and everybody understandably and completely, I agreed with everything kind of negative everybody had to say. It's just that I try for my own sake to look on the positive side, because if I did it's so easy to look on the negative side right now. It's so easy to be pessimistic about Leeds because we do it so well. We screw things up, and it's been kind of from the very beginning of the season, the only team that we're ever going to get in the way of Leeds United were Leeds United, and we are doing it. Granted, if we go up, say, and we're still we're not even touching distance of automatics, we're in touching distance of winning the whole thing, so it's not, yes, we're in third, but that's a bit of a false position. the same for Burnley being first is a false position because they could drop 3 points to Sheffield and we win that game against Stoke and then everything is completely switched round again. So, yeah, I'm trying to be positive, but I fully understand the meltdown. I'm just not there yet because if I was there yet, it's just going to be we've still got a month left and it would just be a really miserable month. And I don't want that yet. I'll embrace the misery if I need to, but until that, I don't want to.
Yeah, I think I've hit the point where, and it could be a little bit selfish of me, but a little bit of me just wants it done by like Bristol at the latest. So at least we've sort of like got something decided at home, because for the Plymouth match, I am not even at home. I never mind like being able to head to the ground or something. I'm at a wedding in Bury. I don't want to be in Bury when we get promoted.
I'm in an airport in Manchester.
Yeah. But
where I might not even be able to watch the game because of the fact that I'll be on airport Wi-Fi.
That's a good point. But airport tellies.
In
there's
Manchester.
There's yeah, but it's the last day of the championship.
In Manchester.
They'll be showing something. So at the very least,
the only way that they would show that game is if we were like 3-0 down and there was no way we were going to get promoted. That's the only way that a Manchester airport shows a Leeds United game.
Yeah, look, you didn't have to hit me with these good points. I've got this is 2 streams now within an hour and 9 minutes that I've gone into with no idea what I'm gonna like go with, and I'm just like, I'll work out what the end point of this is when I get there. Okay. And on the last one, I landed in a position of here's my like specific like thoughts around in what situation do we keep Farker and what situation does he go. I didn't expect that one to come. Who knows what's going to happen in this stream, because I think we've hit the point of no return of this is where stuff gets decided in like the next, let's have a look at days, 11-ish days. So between now and Oxford, we're playing 3 times in about a week and a half.
Yeah.
And I think by Oxford, we probably just know, like not like mathematically, but we'll feel it, you know?
Yeah. It's like Southampton have known it or felt it for a long time, but it has only been confirmed today that they are the worst team in Premier League history when it comes to being relegated with 7 games to go.
That's sort of an achievement, isn't it? Like,
it is. If you're going to fail, you might as well be the best at failure. And they could still potentially do the double, which is more than anybody else in the league would be able to do this season. So, yeah, it would be quite an accomplishment if they not only get relegated with the most games to go, but they could still potentially gain no more points this season and be the worst ever team points and kind of games left before relegation's confirmed, So if you're going to do it properly. If I was there, I would just be like, lads, just legs up, feet up. It's fine.
Yeah, just full commit, see what happens. I decided to have a quick look at their fixtures after you said that, and I quite like the chance of them not getting a single extra point. There's one threatening match in there that could ruin the record, but they've got Villa, they've got West Ham. Both of those teams, I think, blow them out of the water. Fulham, Man City, Everton, who are improving now, Arsenal. The one that scares me is Leicester.
Oh God, that's
because they're also bad.
Yeah, I mean, but don't you think it's really like infuriating how bad they are? It's just like, why not just let us get promoted? Because we'd have done some. And this isn't even being an arrogant Leeds fan. This is me genuinely thinking, with the Red Bull money, with the 49ers money, with the money that we as a club can attract in terms of players, versus the fact that Southampton got bought 4 years ago for the same price that Jack Grealish got sold to Man City for, of 100 million. And even getting relegated to the Championship, we were still worth 150 million. So even as a Championship Leeds United, we were worth more than a Premier League Southampton. And this was before they were in a relegation fight. This was after, I think they'd finished like maybe 14th or something, and then the following year they finished 16th, and then they got relegated with us. So we're still worth more than that as a Championship team. So just give it over. Ipswich are allowed to go and attempt to live the dream. That's fine. I've got no problem with that. I was actively wishing them luck. I wanted them to beat Wolves, just to keep it interesting, because now it's done. There's 12 points gap between Ipswich and Wolves.
Yeah, there's no one playing for anything in that league, so it's a bit pointless. Like, the title is decided.
Top four, maybe, as in like the actual 4th, 5th, 6th, and potentially 7th as well. Other than that, there's nothing to play for. But it was the same when we got relegated. It's been the same for the last 3 seasons. There's been nothing to play for, with still half a dozen games left of the season. It's really boring.
Premier League's stupid, innit?
What's the Championship? Like, everybody, there's something to play for. Relegation is still completely up for grabs. Maybe not Plymouth, but at least the other 2 spots are definitely up for grabs. Top 6, other than kind of the top 4, 5th and 6th are still completely up for grabs. The top 2/3 are completely up for grabs. There's so much going on. If you're a neutral and you don't like Leeds United or Sheffield United or Burnley, it's really exciting. Like, everybody's got from like 5th to 10th, pretty much they're all within a shout of getting top 6. So I don't know, it's exciting. Whereas right now the Premier League's just boring. If we didn't financially need it, it wouldn't be the end of the world if we didn't go up, because realistically we're not going to get anything. Yeah, we're going to, if we go up, we're going to scrape survival, and that's going to be the best that we can hope for. Oh, so exhilarating. Rather than,
the most exciting part about that?
Go on then.
Think of what the financial reports are going to look like.
So
much revenue.
And yet we'll still make a massive loss, because every team makes a loss. I don't understand. And I think the Square Ball said it the other day. I don't understand the finances anymore about it. And it's not that I don't understand them. It's that I don't understand any other business model. If you are losing year after year after, you just go out of business and you're done. You don't willingly buy something that just on the face of it, there's clearly loopholes that people are making money in, but on the face of it, it's just a money pit. So why on earth would anybody who isn't actually emotionally invested in football want to have anything to do with it? It's just a waste of money on the front of it.
Ego is my guess.
Yeah.
Ego or marketing is what it sort of boils down to with a lot of people, or sort of love of football teams. So I think, is it Pete Lowry that's the Australian billionaire that quite likes Leeds?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So him like buying into Leeds makes sense. You are a billionaire that is a Leeds fan. You can just do it. Whereas, like, I don't know what Jim Ratcliffe's doing, because he's bought a big thing. He's gone, damn, it turns out that the thing that all of the records show was losing a lot of money, and I knew personally was losing a lot of money, turns out it's losing a lot of money. So I might need to sack some minimum wage employees to keep Casemiro. Stupid.
I don't even think we should get into that topic, because that topic genuinely makes me so angry. And I don't like Man United. I don't like anything about them, but I feel for the employees. I feel for all those people who have given decades worth of service in a club that they clearly love, because you don't work there if you don't love it, for not that length of time anyway. And these minimum wage, or at least far lower, say Betty in the tea rooms is earning 25 grand, between 25 and 30 grand a year. Oh, well, that will pay for 3 days of Casemiro's wage.
Oh no, it'd take 10 Beckys to cover a week, which is ridiculous. It's insane.
And then they're putting they're barely scraping out of a relegation fight. If there wasn't such a disparity between the Championship and the Premier League, Man U and Tottenham were would be in a relegation fight, as well as Everton and Wolves and West Ham. So it's just because of the fact that there is so much disparity between the two leagues now that's what's saving them. The fact that football has become so financially dependent on having rich billionaire egotistical owners that there is actually no competitive edge to it anymore. It's just, well done, you've had your day out, you've probably been miserable, and your pricing, like your season ticket has tripled in price, and now you can feck off back to the Championship.
I wonder if Darren and Dillo, when they handed over the link to the channel, expected us to burn capitalism to the ground within 4 streams, I think.
Probably not a great idea. Maybe we should talk just Leeds United and let's join in that misery.
It's fine. The point of Guest Week is I'm getting a bunch of guests on to talk about what they feel about football completely honestly. And if you feel, as I do, that the system needs burning to the ground and starting over again, here we are.
Bring back Bielsa for the simple fact of he had it all worked out. He knew that everything needed to be burnt down and started again because of the fact that the core of football has completely been lost. I was talking about it on my stream the other day, the fact that modern supporters aren't seemingly as tribal as they were in the 2000s, the 90s, 80s, 70s, etc. And that's because normal people don't have access to it anymore. Yes, we can all view it on our tellies through one medium or the other, which also costs an absolute arm and leg. And the fact that actually when you pay for it and do everything the complete legit way, which obviously we all do, you still get to see maybe 2 or 3 games a month, and you're paying upwards of 200 quid. When you add all your different Amazon, TNT, Sky Sports, all of these different things into the mix, you're paying so much money to see a handful of games, and then you're paying hundreds of pounds to see one game every so often. You wonder why children aren't that bothered about their local teams anymore, and why they only want to view the big teams, because you can't get access to it. You can't just turn up at the gates, and it's not this fairy tale of, oh well, we're just that good, we're selling it out. It's like, well, no, you're pricing out people. You're making it so that only people who can afford it, like as a luxury, can afford it. Not the average. Football is very much a working man's sport, or that is how it was targeted originally, and now the average working person cannot afford it. If I was on my wage of 3 years ago even, I would never have been able to go and see a Leeds United game, and I'm not well off by any means, but I've been able to to manipulate things and kind of work around things. But people wonder why the atmosphere is flat, because the people who genuinely pour their heart and souls into watching the football can't access it anymore. So then you have these bland fans, and I'm not criticizing like Leeds fans. I'm just saying it as a general thing. Even clubs that have historically a brilliant atmosphere, Liverpool, for instance, and
I was
Man U,
just about to use them as my example.
You don't, other than You'll Never Walk Alone, you just don't get that atmosphere, because it's loads of, how do I say this? It's loads of people that aren't from that area, specifically tourist type fans, and they're not going to know all the songs that are, they're not going to know, while specifically for Leeds, why we sing about Berardi. They're not going to know about, all of these songs that have gone on for years. They're not going to know why we, shoot the Chelsea scum, like take your shoe off if you hate Man U. All of these random songs that just on the face of it seem quite hilarious, but actually it means something to the people that want to go. And yeah, I'll get off my soapbox, I promise.
I mean, it's a fair soapbox to hop on because similarly, like, I don't think I would be able to watch as much football as I do at the moment if it weren't for the job that I have.
Mhm.
Because, like, working in sports broadcasting stuff, luckily we've got the rights to the championship in Japan. And from time to time, we show the Leeds matches over in Japan because we've got Outanaka.
Yeah.
And that means that I can just sort of tell the company I need to be in Japan to watch a thing, and it works.
Yeah.
Whereas if I didn't have that situation, it would be a case of, okay, I've managed to watch us occasionally when we're on Sky, but at the same time, there was a significant chunk of the season where, again, if I weren't lucky enough to work in this job, I wouldn't even be able to sort of watch the Sky stuff. So
Yeah.
it'd be, what, 2-3 matches on ITV? Maybe? Across an entire season. It's ridiculous.
No, and it makes it difficult to entice younger fans who don't necessarily have a family link in terms of getting them into any team that isn't a Premier League right now team, because there isn't the access to it. Because you can't go as just a day fan to go turn up at the stadium and go there, and you also can't watch it if you don't have access to a legal VPN or anything like that. And if you don't have access to that, then how are you supposed to encourage people to, to support that? If you look at the disparity between the teams who have stayed up in the last few years, I genuinely don't think that there's any coincidence in the fact that they're all Southern/London teams, because that's where the money is for football in general, is down south. That's why, for as much as we go on about old Hamface, I would far rather it was Sheffield that come up with us rather than Burnley, because the Premier League doesn't have any Yorkshire teams in it. Like it needs something less polished. It needs something like, I don't know if you watched any of the Manchester United Man City game today, but it was turgid. It was
horrible.
awful. It was. Oh, it was criminal how disgusting that football.
What text messages?
Ooh.
Do you want about the chat, or I don't know? That's highly suspicious. Go on.
But yeah, it was awful football, but that's attractive. Like possession. I've said it constantly, possession for possession's sake is not entertainment. Sometimes it's actually, suicide in the fact of, as in suicide football, because you've got the ball, but you're not doing anything with it. And so many teams today, like Liverpool, for instance, today, they were god awful for the majority of that game against Fulham. And Fulham very much deserved to win that game. And I've got a soft spot for Liverpool, but Fulham deserved to win that game because they played different to just this possession obsessed. Pep has kind of ruined football in a lot of respects, because so many managers now, you've got in the last 3 seasons, you've had Enzo Maresca, obviously learned under Pep. You've got Arteta, you have Vincent Kompany. You've got so many managers that are aspiring to be the next Pep, but they don't have access to the billions that Man City do. And sometimes you do a Chelsea and you just throw billions and see what sticks. And they're still figuring that out because it's still not properly sticking. But you've got teams down the bottom that have to be frugal, or just simply can't be frugal and can't do anything, really. I don't feel a great deal of sympathy for Leicester, but in a way I do, for the fact of they've not been able to spend anything, and it has shown, because they've not been able to buy anybody of genuine quality. They've bought poorly as well, because they've bought Skip, and obviously they've got
isn't great either.
Yeah, but they had him last season, whereas
yeah.
they bought Skip this season, and they got what do we call him from Fulham on loan? Oh, it's going to really annoy me. He's only scored like a couple of goals for them. I think we potentially were looking at him as well. I can't remember his bloody name. That's going to really annoy me.
I think Andy's a little bit behind. Just.
But yeah, if you don't have the money to throw at everything, then it just shows. So yeah, is it worth going up?
Weirdly, that bit of the conversation has put me into a place where I might actually be sort of fine if it doesn't happen.
But we lose everybody this year. It was different last summer. Last summer I was far calmer because we knew that, there's only does it go from 50 to 40 or 60 to 50?
55% of TV revenue to 45, I think.
Yeah. So there's only a 10% drop, whereas it goes to 30, is it? Or 25?
I think it's 15 or something.
Okay, so yeah, there's a massive gap in between. So it is not going to be fun. And I am, between both you and I, we're usually fairly positive Leeds fans. But that's not going to be fun. We're going to lose everybody. Tanaka's gone because we'll make a great profit on him. So Tanaka's gone. Obviously, Solomon would go back on loan, back to Tottenham. There's a potential where we lose Harry Gray before we've even seen him.
Oh no!
But
it's 20%, by the way. Just had a quick look.
Okay, 20%, right?
So it's not as bad as it could have been.
Oh yeah, by that extra 5%, yay!
Yeah,
that'll pay for Paddy Bamford's wages. Yeah, I would if this was our first year, I wouldn't be as stressed. I am stressed because, look at West Brom. They came up with us when we went up with Bielsa, and they're now circling the forever playoffs, and not going up. And they've had to lose so much as well. If you look at it, probably the best teams that have kind of played the system to perfection actually are Bournemouth and Fulham, because they've been up and down, and then they've made it stick.
See, I thought Brighton was going to be your example there.
No, because Brighton didn't constantly go up and down, though, whereas Bournemouth and Fulham over the last kind of 15 years have constantly yo-yoed. But when they've yo-yoed, they've used that money well. And obviously Fulham sold Mitrovic as well, so they earned a load of Saudi money after the first season back up in the Premier League this time round.
Yeah, I still can't believe that they managed to somehow keep Mitrovic in the Championship. That's a bit daft. I have renamed the stream to Starting a Revolution, by the way, because it feels like that's what's going on.
Yeah, it does. It feels like, I don't know, I should just be getting on a soapbox somewhere, standing in front of Parliament and just, making a change. And yeah.
On the ticket prices conversation we were on about earlier, by the way, in Germany, and I'm going to use Borussia Dortmund as an example here because they're a very, very, very big side that are obviously there's high demand for their tickets, therefore you'd assume high prices. In the sort of standing sections of their ground, you can get a ticket for €18.50, which translates to £15.70, which is interesting. And season tickets, this is fun as well. You can get a standing place with a season ticket, which has 21 matches, including 3 Champions League games, for £299.
On holiday a couple of years ago, we were in Cape Verde, and we got talking. It was in the relegation season, and we got talking to Liverpool fans, Arsenal fans, Man City, Newcastle. Obviously, there was Leeds fans because we're literally everywhere. But we got talking to, and we were asking them about their because all of them were season ticket holders, and the Newcastle one, I believe, was about 900. It was about 950 quid. The Man City one was 250 quid.
See, I can kind of get that though, because depending on like how long Newcastle owners have been in place, their prices will have shot up under Mike Ashley. And then obviously the Saudis aren't going to go, actually, sod this revenue stream, we'll just knock it down again. Whereas Man City have spent, since before they were a football team, under the ownership of a Gulf state, which kind of means that they're able to just say, no, we'll just keep the cheapest season tickets possible, because they don't need the revenue, because they've got so many companies that definitely aren't related to their owners buying big sponsorship packages. On that note, sponsorship packages for the Leeds Creator Cup are available.
Seamless.
Thank you. Almost as seamless as the dodgy documentation that got Manchester City all of those sponsorships. So it's the most expensive season ticket for Borussia Dortmund, by the way, in Category 1 seats, which are, let's have a look, like pitch side, real good stuff, are for the same price as a season ticket at Newcastle.
Yeah.
It's a bit broken, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we got offered, well, my husband got offered a season ticket for in one of the boxes. He'd been put on like a wait, like we're both on the normal waiting list, but he got the offer for a season ticket, and it was like $3,500. Yeah, and this was, now was this just? I'm sure this was during the season, during the relegation season. So it was before we got. No, it can't have been. It must have been the season before. So it was the season we just scraped survival. And yeah, we got offered season tickets in a box or something. And it was $3,500 each.
Ooh.
So yeah. I wish I could have afforded it, just because then we could have just traded it in and gone for a normal season ticket for the second year. But yeah, we just couldn't. We were moving house and getting married all within like a few weeks of one another, which I don't recommend to anybody because the stress and the money. But yeah, we just couldn't justify. And to be honest, I still couldn't justify spending that amount of money. I love Leeds, don't get me wrong.
but I can't justify £3,000.
$7,000 it would have been for my husband and myself. So yeah, I can't justify that. Not when I like buying the shirts, which, you know, you're then talking 100 and something pounds for the two of us. And then, you know, per shirt. So you're talking 400-500 quid.
I'm going to give you a little bit of insight into some charity match stuff.
Go on then.
The total estimated cost of the charity match is less than those 2 season tickets would come to. So it's for the set, and this is like if I am removing the discounts that people have given me because it's a charity event. Like I think in that case it's coming quite close, but that is to hire several people to do things, to hire a big old venue, to get, I think it's going to look at like 60 shirts or 60 full football kits or something daft like that. Insurance, match balls, security and safety officers, medical stuff, all of that will come to less than 2 season tickets.
Yeah.
In a nice shiny padded seat where someone might bring you some food, which is a bit much, I want to say.
Yeah, I just couldn't justify it. I'd have to be, win the lottery or something, which I've been determined to do recently, but I've unfortunately failed miserably at it. And I had to, my lottery thing came up with are you sure you should be spending any more? Because I don't often gamble or do anything. And I'd only spent maybe 12 quid. And because I'd spent that probably in the last 2 years and I'd spent that in a week, they're like, are you okay?
Do
No,
you
I
need some
support Leeds
help? Is this
United. Of
normal?
course I'm not okay.
If I spend enough on lottery tickets, maybe I won't have to pay the internet bill, and then I can't watch Leeds anymore. That's what it's come to.
That is what it's come to. And yet, the Sheffield result gave me hope again. I was ready to kind of be like, right, okay, maybe this year is the year that we can do the playoffs. Maybe this year is the year. And then Sheffield lost, and I'm like, feck this, we're still going to win the thing. But that's how fickle emotions are when it comes to football results. And that's why it affects my mood massively. And when everybody was chatting on the group and things, I was on a dog walk because I was like, this is what I have to do in order to cope, because when I'm stressed or feeling anxious or whatever, I have to do something active, or something productive, not necessarily super active, but just productive. And I thought, right, well, my dog needs a walk, so I'm going to walk her. And she was trying to stop and sniff and be all, dog-like and things. And I was like, no, we're power walking. Screw the sniffing.
If I
We're
stop
just
for a
walking.
moment, I might think. I don't want to think right now.
I don't want to think right now.
Whereas on the other side, I'm kind of the opposite. I just sort of sit there and I'm like, no, I'm just gonna wallow in it for a few minutes, and then probably be fine, maybe.
Yeah.
But
I try and snap out of it quite quickly, but I've got to admit, obviously back-to-back weekends have kind of been ruined by Leeds United, and it was so infuriating because it was Mother's Day last weekend, and then I went to go see a Disney concert thing last night, and I was like, I am really happy. And then I'll see a little child or something running past with a Leeds kit, and I'm like, oh God, the flashbacks, the memories, the disappointment that you have allowed your children to endure for the rest of their life now. Well done, great parenting.
you've ruined them forever. Well done.
Exactly. But the flip side, as soon as the Sheffield result came in, and I was watching, constantly refreshing, thinking, no, they're going to do something. They're going to get a draw. They're going to do something. They're going to get that undeserved win that they always seem to get. We have to work our socks off to get a win. I don't think, other than the Sheffield and Sunderland wins this season, I don't genuinely think that there's a win that we haven't deserved by being the better team this season. We just don't get it. We either get a draw or we lose. We don't really get wins that we don't deserve. Whereas Sheffield just seemed to be the jammiest team. And it's just annoying because you just think we just need a little bit of that luck. That's all we need. Just give us some of the Sheffield luck that they've had throughout the season of winning games that they've been the second best team in. The only game that I've seen that they've deserved to get anything from was genuinely playing against us a few weeks back. Other than that, I haven't seen them getting a win that I've been like, yeah, 100%. They deserve that win,
But we managed to stop them, and that's quite nice. And I would like to. I've got a quick note on something that Paul's just said. Paul has said, "Stop saying the thing," presumably on the topic of Daniel Farke, who keeps saying the thing, who keeps saying that he's 100% certain that Leeds will be in the Premier League next season. A little bit of a counterpoint to Paul's view on this, and it might just be me that thinks this, but I'm kind of glad that it's a thing that he's saying, because, and it's not even for this season. I don't know how it's going to be affecting people. In theory, I think it won't be, but the positive that I'm seeing from continuing to say the thing is that it means that is Evie still there, or is Evie
Yeah.
frozen?
I'm just listening. I'm listening
Okay.
intently.
Okay, you hadn't moved for me for like a minute.
I know. I'm
I
really
got to
good
the
at
point of
musical
just like,
statues.
yeah, I got to the point of staring and just being like, has she blinked? What's going on? But I'm glad that you're saying it, because it's sort of like tying himself to the mast. So if the ship goes down, he's gone down. Like 100%. There's no question mark around people that are saying, like, does he stay next year if we don't go up? You never know. He's quite good in the championship. Because once you've said this, you've said, if this doesn't happen, I'm gone. So I think from a certainty perspective, I quite appreciate that, unless I'm going genuinely insane.
I get where you're coming from. And I would be okay-ish, or more okay than I currently am with him saying it, if he was actively doing things to change, i.e. the Ramazani issue that seems to have kind of come up. And I'm not saying that Ramazani isn't doing the things that he's saying. I'm just, even if Ramazani isn't the one that comes on, I actually thought Schmidt was a silver lining of a very poor game. I thought that he showed more in those 10 minutes than I think Ramazani did in the last time that he was on for almost half a game. So for me, it's not even the personnel, it's the willingness to take Solomon off the goddamn pitch. That manifests, as Shauna said, that Fark is manifesting us going up. I think that has more of a bearing on it if he shows that he's willing to do something, i.e. taking Solomon off when he's completely ineffective for the majority of a game, and it's really obvious for everybody to see. And I'm not even blaming Solomon on that, because this is the most football that he has played, him and Tanaka have played in their career. So you can't blame him. And I know that a lot of people say, well, they're footballers, it's what they get paid to do. I get that. I completely get that. But you can't blame them for being exhausted physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever. If this is the most football that they have ever played in their career, and it's not just a season, it's a season where we need to get promoted. I'm sorry if you can hear my dog barking in the background.
Not much. It's fine.
So yeah, I would be happier with him saying that if he was willing to do things that would also say, not only are we going to do it, and this is how we're going to do it, I'm going to shake it up, I'm going to make a difference, because I acknowledge that things have gone a little flat, a little stale, call it what you will, and this is what I'm going to do to propel us to that next point.
Can I offer a wee little bit of a counterpoint to that? Because you know that I agree with you on the Solomon thing. We were equally in that group chat saying, like, he's got to come off the pitch now. Come on, this is becoming a little bit of a joke. But this entire conversation has made me sort of think that, is our problem with the fact that he's not changing things, or is our problem that he's not changing the things that we specifically want him to change in that moment? Because if you have a look at what the lineup was for yesterday, it's very hard to look at that and say that he was scared of making a change, because Nonto did come.
I agree, and I complimented him to my husband before the game. I said, I think he's made the right changes. I think he's made the changes that were glaringly obvious from the last game. And I had no problem with the changes. It's not Farke's fault that Nonto was marked out of the game. Nonto's passes were 99% backwards. That wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault that Solomon missed a sitter. It wasn't Farke's fault. But the only thing that he can control is the the system that we play in and the personnel on the pitch. And Solomon was not tracking back. Solomon was losing the ball and trying to take on 4 men and then wondering why he was getting the ball pinched off his toes. He also wasn't producing when we needed him to produce. And he just looked exhausted, and mental fatigue can show in physical ways. I'm not saying that he's physically exhausted, but he probably is, because again, it's the most football that he has ever played in a season. So his body isn't used to it. It just isn't. And that, again, that's not Farke's fault, but there are certain things that Farke can do to change that, i.e., oh, my winger that I have played non-stop basically since November is looking tired. What do I have? Well, I have a winger who, before he got injured, was one of the best in the championship in terms of goal contributions per minute played, and still is, because of the fact that he barely plays. Or you've got Schmidt, who looks like he's only in league games, he's only ever brought Schmidt on to replace a winger. So we have seen Schmidt replace Nonto earlier on in the season. So there is kind of there is an example of him playing as a winger. So he had 2 options there, and he had 3 if you count Aronson, because before Rutter left, he was playing as a left winger. So, and I think he played as well as a right winger. He's played on the wings, and we've seen him do that. I'm not saying it's his best position, but we've seen it. I hate to say it, and again, this is because that I don't like the man. It's just as a player, we should have got beyond the point of relying on Patrick Bamford, and yet he came on, and we genuinely looked better. And we look better with Schmidt, and we look better with Bamford. We were playing against a big physical team, and we were playing long balls. Mind blown. We have a short ass team, and I can say that because I'm short. So I'm not being insulting. It is just a fact. We have a very physically diminutive team, especially when you put them up against Luton are a big physical team. You wouldn't be able to figure that out when they go over, when you slightly push them, but then leave one in constantly on our players. And the ref was just refusing to book anybody or do anything. It was just mind-boggling. So, yes, Farke made the right changes. I agree with you there. Nobody before that game kicked off was dissatisfied with Farke's changes. In fact, everybody who is a critic of Farke probably complimented him in their own way. But it wasn't working. And that is also that the manager doesn't just pick the lineup and say, right, off you go. He has the ability to make those changes. And I said the exact same thing in the game last year about the QPR game. When it wasn't working, he didn't do anything. He had the power to change that game, and he had the power to change this game, and he didn't. And another thing I've always said about Farke is when Farke fails against a team, we fail. And Farke has never beaten Luton. In fact, Farke has lost his games at Luton. So a draw was actually probably a career highlight against his, managerial career against Luton. So yeah, it was just infuriating. That point would have been okay if we'd have got the job done last Saturday. We didn't get the job done, so we needed it done this week, and we also didn't get it done. We could have been sat top of the table if we made the correct change. If Solomon puts that ball in, we're sat top of the table now, and this isn't even a conversation that we're having. This ginormous meltdown that the Leeds United world loves to go in wouldn't be happening. But that is on Farke. He has the power to make those changes. I'm standing off my soapbox now.
It's okay. I'm going to say the controversial thing right now. I'm going to say the thing that people don't like to hear, but the thing that I'm about to say.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to start against Borough, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. I also think because obviously he's played for them, there's a personal bite there as well. And if he gets sent off, it really doesn't matter either.
Yeah.
It's just get him on, wind people up. We don't have that. I think him and Ampadu actually would be a good. Although Ampadu, well, it depends really, because it depends whether Max Verber has remembered that he's a footballer again on Tuesday.
He played. Yeah, he came on for Stroke.
Yeah, so that's what I
His
mean.
average
It
position
depends.
was fucking weird because he's come on as a centre back, but he's playing as wide as Firpo. Basically, there's this weird like trio of players that, when you look at their average position, just into their half, on the left flank, you've got Isaac Schmidt. You go back to the halfway line, and it's Max Vober on the exact same width. And you go back a tiny bit more, and it's Junior Firpo. And it's like, what happened at the end of this match to what? Sorry? But on the average positions thing, Joel Piroux, his average position was maybe a yard vertically ahead of both Nonto and Schmidt, and he was behind both James and Solomon. He's not a number 9.
It's a weird one. I think for as much as we've all, myself included, been getting incredibly frustrated with Aronson, and we were all begging for Nonto to start in this game. I'm not trying to backtrack and say that I wasn't, but in order to make Piroux work, you need somebody with a massive engine behind him, and Nonto isn't that. So maybe if you start Nonto, you need a Bamford. Like, I'm not saying that Nonto can't work, and I'm not saying that Nonto is what we need, because he also didn't paint himself in a good light yesterday. So yesterday. So
It feels like so much longer.
Oh, I know, and I think Aronson did really well in the reverse fixture against Borough. So for me, I would be starting Aronson, Bamford. God, it's 2025. I would be starting Aronson, Bamford. I don't know. Maybe you start Nonto on the right and somebody else on the left. And I'm not
Surely
even saying
Nonto on the left for me.
Nonto's played better on the right though over the last 2 seasons. Yes, he came in as a striker / left winger, but actually because he cuts in so much, he actually is better playing on the right.
But Dan James can't do the left, and we know that he's not picking Ramazani.
No, he might pick Schmidt.
Not to start. Surely not
Hey,
to start.
I'm just saying wild things could happen if Ramazani is basically out the door according to Fark, then why not?
Then who knows? I would like to just quickly address this from Sean.
I don't want to admit it either, Sean, but this is where recruitment has let us down miserably, because it is 2025 and we are still relying on Bamford. And that's nothing against Bamford. That is on the recruitment, and it's on the ownership for the last God knows how many years has he been here and not been physically available?
Oh, and not been physically available.
4 years.
21, 22, 22, 23, 23, 24. This is the 4th.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, yeah. But I would like to make the counter argument that when he's fit, he's probably our best striker. And I know that that's a depressing thing to say, because, as I've kept on saying, 2 out of 3 chances he misses. I still think he scores the one that Solomon had if he was there, because
I don't know. It gives me Leicester of relegation season flashbacks.
But let me have this one. But the fact is, he creates a lot of those chances that he's not scored. So whilst a lot of people point to the fact that, like, well, he's missed X, Y, Z chances and that's dropped this many points, I don't think if Piroux's in the starting lineup, we have that in the first place. We don't get those opportunities because the number of times we've had Dan James and Manor Solomon flash a ball across the 6-yard box, hoping that there's a striker in there, and then Piru's on the edge of the 18 yards, just sort of being like, I'm here for if the ball bounces out. It's not going to bounce out if no one's challenging for it. That's your job.
Yeah, the amount of times that you looked at the game on Saturday and there was nobody in the middle. There was nobody in the middle. And it was infuriating because you just think, well, there's nobody even attempting to put pressure on the defenders. A goal is a goal, whether it's scored by us or whether it's scored by them. At this point in the season, I do not give a damn. I don't care about personal stats. I don't care about any of that. I want the ball in the back of the opposition net, and I don't care who puts it in. I don't care if all we do is score our own goal, like not us score our own goals, but force the opposition to score our own goals for the rest of the season. And a Leeds player doesn't get another goal for the rest of the season. I don't give a damn. I want people to put pressure because we've seen it so many times on us that we've put the ball in our own net this season a few times. We've had Firpo, we've had Melier, we've had Verba. We've had own goals this season, and if we can do it, and we're in theory the best in the league, then why can't we force other teams to make those mistakes? And that's what you get by putting pressure, and nobody was putting pressure. And for as much as Aronson can be frustrating, he does apply that pressure. We've seen it so many times that he's just such a niggly player that I think you can't not start him against Borough because they aren't. I watched the game. I watched their last game. Who were they against?
I think.
Was it Blackburn? Yeah. I watched that game. It was a brilliant game. Obviously, they were 2-0 up in 8 minutes, so we have to start switched on. But if Blackburn were better at just scoring in general, they've been outperforming their stats all season, hence why they're no longer in, they were above us for a period of time, quite a bit at the beginning of the season, and now I think they're 11th. But if they were us, we would have scored those chances, and how many times have we seen Borough drop a lead this season? They can be got at defensively. They are brilliant in attack, and they are relentless. And they played some really good, again, some of the most attractive football I've seen, like all season, has been Middlesbrough. But they can be defensively got at. But we have to have a attacking lineup that are fresh, that are up for the fight, and that are persistent and get into those positions. And maybe we go back to the beginning of the season, but instead of Joseph, we have Bamford and then bring on Pirro for tired legs and utilise him, the best that we can in terms of, because he hasn't been as clinical as he was earlier on. So maybe he needs dropping from the starting lineup and make him earn his place back again. Again, competition. Nobody should feel entitled to start, and that goes from the back to the front. And we've finally seen Melier dropped, so finally we can actually say that everybody can be dropped.
I'm just going to very, very quickly go a little bit relentlessly in the direction of Sean.
I know where this is going.
Not entirely, but I think Sean made the mistake of saying the words "facts are facts." Because once you say the words "facts are facts," you bring out the stats bitch, the one who has many, many, many numbers and is just willing to chuck them at you. He had one good season where there were no fans, shows his mentality, facts are facts. Very interesting. Can you tell me in all competitions who our top scorer was per 90 last season? Because fairly sure it wasn't Joel Piru. No, wait, I'm 100% sure it wasn't Joel Piru, because for all of our players with at least 5 90s, it was Patrick Bamford. So what you're annoyed at isn't his level of ability, because that's fine when he's on the pitch. people are admitting that at the moment, saying that, yeah, he did pretty well in that last match. What you're annoyed at is the fact that he's not there all the time. That's why people are miffed. Because he visibly made us better on Saturday. So to say that Pat Bamford isn't the answer, provide a different one, and we might listen to it. But Piru wasn't. Bamford improved on it. Mateo Joseph might be ill. It feels like the way that kind of needs to be gone. And on this one, we can be got out defensively. Expected goals against this season. Burnley, 32.1. Somehow they've only conceded 12. So James Trafford needs testing for all of the substances. Sheffield United, 40.5. Us, 26.6. And we don't even concede more than we are expected to. We've conceded 1 and 1.4 more than we're expected to. We can't be got at defensively. It's just the occasional silly error that comes in. I'm starting to think because of fatigue, because it's significantly worse towards this end of the season. So we can't be got at defensively unless we cock up massively. It's not a system failure. It's a player sharpness failure, I think. Same with the Brendan Aronson thing, where he gave the ball away stupidly and we conceded that daft goal. I think he was just exhausted and was like, this will probably be fine, right? And it didn't work out. And yes, this is the return of Stats Bitch Joe. It's great. Who was the highest goal scorer last season? It was Bamford. It wasn't Bamford. Yeah, I'm aware of this. That's why I said per 90 for the time spent on the pitch. If, for example, right, okay, what's a good example of this? Hang on. Sean, why did you bring out this side of me? I was good with him hiding for a while. Total per 90 stats. Cool. By this logic, Jorginho Ureta is a horrifically bad player that never creates chances because he only got 1 assist for us this season. Difference is he didn't play that much. It's a wild example, I admit, but it's one that proves the point of very, very good player, plays less football, numbers aren't as big. So it's fine. It'd be right. I'm going to get off my soapbox now.
I feel so proud that it's not just me.
It's great. Oh, I just want the season done.
Yeah, I'm emotionally exhausted with this season. This is why a 38 game season is far better, because actually, if we end the season at 38 games, we would have already won the league.
That's true. Yeah, and we would have played against like the harder teams, and we tend to get results against them. So
yeah, this was where my frustration came when everybody's like, Leeds have got the easier run. No, we don't. Our run during January, February, and like the beginning of March were against the top sides, and we didn't lose a single game. And we won all but 2 of those games, which were Hull, where the goalkeeper had an absolute nightmare, and Burnley, in which it was a 0-0 draw. And that was during Burnley's we don't score, but we don't concede run. So when we have a game to play, we play it. When we think that we've already won, because in theory the team are inferior to us on paper, we struggle, because quite often people underestimate what a relegation fight looks like versus what a promotion fight looks like. And there's not many teams in that promotion, in the bubble that we are in right now, as in top 2. There are 3 teams in that bubble right now, and we have played both of them. And Burnley, you take away a slip out of that, and we probably get 2 0-0 draws, or potentially we win if Joseph converts that incredibly simple chance that he created right at the beginning of that game. Sheffield, we beat them both times. So we've essentially done our job against the teams at the top, but for the second year, we struggle against the relegation teams because it's difficult. And if you're going down, because things are so tight at the bottom, they've got everything to play for. and how many, we secured QPR last season, and it's not easy. No game in the Championship is easy because of the fact that this is what happens when you are the biggest team in the league. You will find no game is easy, and people just don't seem to understand that fact, that the downside of not being Burnley, other than the fact that we're not Burnley, is the fact that everybody ups their game to play us. And yeah, that's what happens.
I was looking for more players to use as examples. Again, Sean, I don't have the energy right now. I even went to the point of, right, how many goals per 90 has Latte Lat got and all that kind of... I don't care. I was trying to remember players that Sean likes, but I can't be bothered. Some of them get through a ton of yards, get kicked a lot. We tend to play quite an energetic second game, hence we're always shit when that energy runs out. Yeah, and I think it might have been down on the square ball that said it. I think the mistakes that are to be made have already been made in that not swapping out players enough and keeping Dan James fresh.
Yeah, I agree.
And we can't really fix that at this point because...
Again, that is exactly what happened last year in terms of we have a better bench this year. The caliber, like the top isn't as high, i.e. like, where the ceiling of the players that we have isn't as high when you look at Rutter and Archie. Maybe not Somerville, because maybe Somerville did find his ceiling, and we've kind of seen that at West Ham. I know obviously he's injured at the moment, but he hasn't exactly, lit up West Ham. And it wouldn't take a great deal to be very good in that side, because other than Bowen, they struggle to have any sort of kind of outstanding talent.
Yeah.
But we haven't rotated those players. Like Nonto and Ramazani at the beginning of the season were incredible. Dan James and Solomon were out for the majority of that beginning couple of months of the season, and they were getting goals and assists. So they were good players, and if we'd have kept them fresh, they could be doing a job for us right now. And instead, we're not even allowing them to make a difference. And to be honest, Ramazani hasn't shown that he's doing anything. Nonto has, to a certain extent, and obviously got the should have been the winning goal in the Swansea game, but he's not being allowed to play in his normal position either, which is as a winger. And that comes back down to recruitment again. You're telling me that there's seriously no number 10s out there. I know that they're difficult to find, but you've got one of the richest ownership groups in the world, and you couldn't find anybody that's suitable for the Championship.
Yeah. It was a gamble. And I think we knew at the time it was a gamble. It's one that hasn't worked out. And
it could still work out, because that's how ridiculous this all is. We're all feeling down in the dumps, but realistically, we're 2 points off top with still, for now, the better goal difference as well. So we're still so close. And, to not just promotion, not just automatics, but winning the whole bloody thing. And if we go up, it was worthwhile, because then we're in a much better financial position, because our books look amazing. Because we haven't spent that money on wages and getting people in, so it looks much better. But yeah, I just sometimes I wish that we would just do what every other team in the world does and just spend to get your way out of it. I really do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had this kind of a heated debate on Just Joe stream the other day. I was just in the chat, and I understand the point that he was trying to make about the fact that Sheffield got a load of people in. Obviously they've got Kiefer Moore, so they've got people, but our front four had outscored those 4 players, and they all played in the same position, and obviously they can't all start on the pitch at the same time, but had outscored them massively. Like Pirro alone had got the same goal contributions as 3 of them, all 3 or 4 of them put together. So it's like, well, we're scoring, and also we've got lots of people scoring. You know, you've got Tanaka on 3 goals, you've got Bogle on 3 or 4 goals, Firpo on 3 goals, and obviously goodness knows how many assists now. So, you know, Rodon scored, Verber scored, Strauch scored. You know, the only people who haven't scored this season, I think, are like Ampadu, Rothwell, and Meslier. So, you know, it's we have enough firing power. It's the
using
tired.
it.
Yeah, exactly. It's using it, which comes back to the manager then. But we still could have done with another number 10. And I don't think we'll ever truly know as to, you know, I can see in the chat that, you know, Sean saying that Farker was offered people. We don't know that. We don't know what goes on behind the scenes. It's all just, well, I know somebody who once spoke to somebody who smoked a cigarette outside of Ellen Road, so therefore I know. Everybody seems to have these insider people, which is quite difficult to believe, because you shouldn't really be saying insider knowledge on a YouTube channel. So the likelihood is that you don't know.
Yeah. Just annoying. Another thing is when a lot of people were sort of like, we should have just signed someone, anyone. Like a few people pointed to the fact that like Sheffield United signed Tom Cannon. I was like, fair enough. Tom Cannon, in theory, good footballer. He's moved to Sheffield United, and in total, he's gotten 1 assist in 10 games. So whilst a lot of people were sort of shouting, sign someone, just shining someone. Let's shine someone. Just signing someone doesn't get you anywhere other than a more expensive wage bill. And all that does for the fans at the end of the season, if they don't do anything, is your fans then go, well, why didn't we just sign someone better?
Yeah.
Because you don't know who is better, because it's a big question mark until you see them in your system. Well.
I feel this has been quite cathartic, really.
It feels like a therapy session.
Yeah.
We started with Revolution, moved on to, I don't even know. It's been a weird one. I'm going to close it with a little segment that I'm going to be doing on all of my guest week episodes. I don't know if you watched the one that I did with Jer or not.
No, I haven't watched that one yet.
Good. So welcome to Joe's Super Journalistic Daily Question, in which I ask you a question that came to mind at random at some point during the day. It could be something about football. It could be something about absolutely nothing. Who knows? This one is more of a quiz question.
Oh, God.
Who from the England squad does your first name sound like if you pronounce it a bit wrong?
Right, England squad.
Oh no, she's gone into balls knowledge mode.
I genuinely can't think of it. Current. Right. So we've got Rashford. Not Ollie Watkins.
How badly do you think you do?
I don't know how you're so you got Ollie Watkins.
It could be first name, it could be second name. Just what does your forename sound a bit like if you pronounce it wrong?
What's the guy? Is it the Villa guy? Has he scored? No, it's not.
At some point, I think.
That's really gonna really annoy me.
Oh, I might just not answer it.
James Trafford. Nick Pope. I don't think Nick Pope got chosen. Did Aaron Ramsdale? Aaron Ramsdale didn't get chosen. Pickford. I just don't pay attention to England football anymore, especially like during an international break that I did not want at all.
Why wasn't that replying? Oh. There we go. That'll clear up the touch.
I can't think.
Are we completely giving up? Oh, hello, throat. Ow.
No.
No? Is it not happening? Well, Eberechi Evie will be very, very disappointed.
Yeah, I would never have got that in a month of Sundays.
Yeah, I thought not. It just came to mind a bit ago. I was like, might as well see if it works. Doesn't
I'm
really,
so
does
glad.
it?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you chose that question to be your super journalistic daily question.
I wasn't going to ask anything about the club because that depresses me. I will ask score prediction for Borough.
Oh, don't do this. I hate score predictions. I hate it. It makes me squirm.
Result.
I think we get a better result than we think because we play better against the better teams, and Borough will want to beat us, not only for their own personal satisfaction, but for the fact that we obviously have beaten them every time. And we probably didn't deserve to get the win at their place last season because that Willie Gnonto goal was offside. But yeah,
Okay.
I think we do better, but I'm not committing to anything. But I think we do better than people think that we will.
Fair enough. Follow-up question. It's that question. It's the question. Does Bamford start?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go ballsy. We're gonna win. Bamford scoring the winner. Why not? Screw it. It's gonna happen someday.
It's gonna fucking save the season, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. I will be so vindicated. And with that, I think the two newest only Leeds siblings are gonna dip. So thank you for coming along to the stream. Pop a like on it if you haven't yet. That's always much appreciated. Subscribe if you've not yet. This isn't my channel, but I still want to see it grow. Hope you enjoyed, and we shall see you, Arthur. You're so rude. Oh, you're meaning to that. Okay, that's fine then. That's fine. I thought Arthur was just like.
It's
No,
still
you know
not
what?
fine though.
No,
It's
you know
still
what?
not fine.
I had liked it, but I'm going to unlike it now. Rude. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you later. Doodle.